Every year, the world marks the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign, which begins on the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women on the 25th of November and runs through International Human Rights Day on the 10th of December to raise awareness and inspire action to combat gender-based violence. Now, to kickstart this global campaign right here on GNCR, we are privileged to host a survivor activist, Lizanne Hattingh. Just a little bit from her biodata. She is a single mom, author, speaker, employee, friend, lay counselor, bereavement facilitator, as well as chef, cleaner, nurse, and Uber driver to her kids, sometimes all at the same time. As such, she relates well to the modern woman in society who balance life with all its ups and downs while still trying to maintain her own personal sanity. Lizanne's life experiences enable her to guide women in similar situations towards healing and growth. Her ability to uplift and motivate those around her come through not only in her writing and public speaking engagements, but also in her heart for serving those around her. She's also the founder of STEP, taking safe steps beyond abuse with victims of abuse and their support systems. With that said, thank you, Lizanne, for making the time for us, and not just for today, but in the 2 weeks that follows, especially during this campaign. We want to say a warm welcome to you to the studios of Good News Community Radio.
Thank you, Vanora, for having me, and it's an absolute privilege to share this precious space with you and the listeners.
Now, it's good to have you in person, a survivor activist, but more especially because you have given us such a gift in the book that you've written, a valuable resource, I must say, depicting your personal journey to hope and healing that can be found after a destructive relationship. Now, I've had the wonderful privilege of just having an overview of your book entitled Loved by Grace Toward a Graceful Purpose. And I must say that as I went through the book, it feels like it's like a book like no other that I've seen, because you get the whole package deal. And it's like every chapter for every need for a survivor of gender-based violence. And also, I think it's published this year, so it's the first edition. We get a latest edition as well. Maybe I'll come back to just some of the reviews. I mean, even that was so beautiful and inspiring. So no further introduction from me, Lizanne. Just help us to understand a little bit of your background and where did it all start?
Vanora, I was raised in a Christian home by loving parents. Well educated, I have a university degree. I was privileged. I came from a good home. There were no worries. And I had good prospects for a good, healthy future. And then one day I met the wrong man who knew exactly how to manipulate me, who knew what to say to make me place him above everyone I held dear. And the more my parents tried to warn me about him, the more I ran towards him. Very soon I chose to discard my family, my friends, even my God.
Just having met him, did you see any red flags, or was he maybe more the charming type? And
looking back, I can see that there were red flags that I should have picked up on, but I did not know what those red flags were. And I think we can go into these red flags a little bit in more depth later on during this interview.
I guess that's the reason or the purpose for the book.
That is the purpose for the book.
Great.
Vanora, so I'd met this man and I didn't see the red flags. I chose to marry him against the advice from all my family and all my friends. We were married for 13 years. There was no physical abuse, but there was a lot of other abuse. Because I didn't know what abuse was at the time, I didn't think that I was being abused. Because I was young and inexperienced, and I was in love when I met him, absolutely. I chose not to see the harmful things that were being said and done. And also because I was a Christian, raised as a Christian, I truly wanted the marriage to work. I had made a commitment in marriage, and I was going to honor that, probably partly due to my pride. I had chosen to marry the man, so I felt that I had to make it work to prove to everyone that I had made the right choice, which I clearly did not do. So after 13 years of marriage, when things became physical, only then did I realize, hang on a second, something needs to change. And by this time I had 3 children. Thank goodness and thank the Lord, I had the support from my family. So I was able to escape the marriage with all 3 of my children and start life over. So that is a very brief background. We left 7 years ago, so we've been on our own for 7 years. And it has been an amazing healing time, a very difficult time, because healing is hard. It's really, really hard. But by the grace of God, we are where we are, and I'm happy.
As you mentioned, initially in the marriage, you probably didn't understand that it is a toxic relationship. So for those who are going through it, how does one know that they are in a destructive relationship? I know you addressed that in chapter 13 of your book.
Venora, as you said, within chapter 13, I pose a few questions to the readers which will help them possibly establish whether they are in a destructive relationship or not. I'm not going to read all of them. I'll just touch on them here and there. But if you indicate yes to majority of the questions, then it might be a very good indication. Does your partner check up on you constantly or insist on knowing where you are all the time? Has your partner ever insisted on reading your text messages, emails, or social media? Does your partner lose his temper often? Are you afraid to disagree with your partner? Has your partner ever put you down or insulted you publicly? Have you stopped seeing your friends or family to avoid upsetting your partner? And I think that's a very big one. Because your friends and your family are they're your support system. They're your backup. They will often see when something is wrong before you do. That is one way that a destructive partner will control you. Because destructive behavior is all about control. You are the victim. They are the controlling factor, and they will want to prevent you from doing things that you love doing, hobbies, sports, self-development. They will stop you from wanting to improve yourself, on taking courses, on getting a better job, on spending time with people who empower you and build you up. Because remember, your destructive partner, his goal is to break you down. He doesn't want you going to anyone else for help besides him.
Thinking of breaking one down, how do you relate this with your faith? Because even before that, maybe I must just mention that your whole intention here is to get guidance and counseling God's way. So it's not something, because in the secular world, there's different solutions to these problems. But your intention through the book, even the title, Loved by Grace, Toward a Graceful Purpose, is to maintain that in the faith, with God's guidance and His help, that you can come out of a destructive relationship.
I truly believe that it is as a direct result of my Christian upbringing that I was able to heal so thoroughly and quickly. And I think that if you don't have that as a base, it would be harder. So yes, I have, even though I chose to abandon God during my 13 years of marriage, when I left, and I was back at my family, I found my faith and my belief and my hope in God again. And I have indeed written this whole book with God at the forefront of my mind, as you'll see in part 1, where I tell my personal story. It is faith-based, definitely.